Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us for a very exciting Office Hours Live. And happy Thanksgiving to our neighbors to the south. Hope you're all getting your fill of turkey and pie. I'm really excited to have Kerri Twigg with us tonight. I don't think Kerri needs an introduction. But I will introduce her anyway. So Kerri is a story strategy coach, TEDx speaker, LinkedIn top voice, of course, and author of the upcoming Stories Method book, which I'm super excited about and we'll hopefully talk about if she can share something with us if it's not under lock and key. Kerri helps her clients uncover what makes them awesome, really, and really match their unique skills and strengths to their career stories in order to identify the work that's great for them and well matched for them, and then land it. That's very important, isn't it? So I'm really, really excited to have Kerri with me tonight. For those of you who are joining for the first time, I'm Kamara Toffolo. I'm a resume writer, LinkedIn consultant, and job search strategist who helps working professionals dare to do work differently and land great fitting gigs. Super excited to have Kerri with us, and let's bring her into the stream. Hello, Kerri.
Hey, I love that we're doing this. This is really great. Yeah.
Me too. I'm so excited. And we had so many people register on LinkedIn for this or RSVP. So I'm really, really pumped. We're getting some hellos here. So Dolores says, hey there, ladies.
Hey there.
Kristen, our mutual friend, says, eek.
Did you know Kristen and I are now workout buddies?
I did. I saw that.
We're on week 4 and every day we're sending each other. Yeah. And now we're training to do like a 5-kilometer race in February.
Way to go.
Yeah.
Way to go. Well done. You guys are so inspirational. Are you guys going to do the same 5K? Like, is it the same in the same spot? Like where?
It's like virtual. So we're doing a training program, but we're just finishing week 1. I have one more workout this week. And then it's a 12-week program. And by the end, we're running a 5K. So we'll just run it and then celebrate. Yeah. But she made a LinkedIn post that said, hey, like I need to exercise more. And I was like, I exercise, I'll coach you.
Yeah.
Do it too. Yeah. And it's great.
It's awesome. And from what I gather, she's like, Kristen's getting the intended results that she was hoping for. So way to go to both of you. Well done. Well done.
Inspiration.
Yes, you both are. Thanks for joining us, Kristen. Andy says hello and happy Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving to everyone. Kristen also said, I'm too excited right now about this episode. We're pretty excited too, I think. I'm kind of buzzing, actually.
Yeah. We haven't even started.
We haven't even started anything. Sweta says, hello, ladies, pumped up. And Claire says, hello. So, we had tons of people RSVPing on LinkedIn. So I expect a lot of conversation happening from LinkedIn. And Nola says, hey guys.
Hey Nola.
So, hey Nola, thanks for joining us. So, so I really wanted to talk about making job searching, resume writing fun again.
Was it ever fun though?
I'm not sure. I mean, I consider it fun.
Yeah.
I think you consider it fun as well. But like when I read your blog posts, when I read your LinkedIn posts, like I really get this good feeling of like you believe wholeheartedly that resume writing can be fun, and I agree. So what do you think people can do to bring some fun into their resume writing?
So, well, I think there's a lot of things. I think the first thing is that when you are writing it, that you need to know yourself. So I think having the idea that you want a job and then sitting at a computer, and I've done this myself. Like I made that mistake too. And then being like, okay, I have to get it all done and on paper. This causes stress. So I think doing some of the pre-work of hey, what am I really good at? What are my super skills? What stories do I want to share that I'm really proud of? What do I want next? All of those things are going to help you feel like good as you do it. So, and then when you sit, it's tuning into that feeling, right? So I often tell people to do like a short meditation, which is just like, feel your feet on the ground, your feet like touching on the ground, and even just like paying attention to your feet. Yeah, pay attention to your feet. Which toe is the heaviest?
My left big toe is the heaviest right now.
Yeah, and like you had no awareness, and so when we tune into our bodies, then we're grounded, and it's from that space we want to write. So I want to write, I'm like, hey, I'm not here to defend myself. I'm not here to look bigger than I am. I'm grounded. I know what I'm good at, and I'm just going to like shoot it out. So I think
love that.
That makes it fun. Other fun things to do is even like put on like the cap of like, hey, I'm an amazing person. Like, even if you're not really feeling it, of imagining you have the job, how would you write it? Like, how would you write it from that place? And just like be braggy, right? Like you just overdo it because you can always edit. If you start small, it's sometimes hard to embellish, but you can go big, which is it's a theater thing. Did you ever study theater?
I didn't study theater specifically. I dabbled, but my background is music actually, and now I'm doing improv. So I'm always super jazzed about like when you talk about the theater aspect of things. But what were you going to say about theater and bringing theater into it?
So when you're in theater and you're doing a scene, you always go big first. Like you have big emotions, right? And then the director can go, tone it down, right? But it's very hard to come in small. And then, because we don't know what your range is. So you go extreme and then you go back. So on your resume, just go like talk about yourself like outrageously well. Right? Like Kerri is the most incredible resume writer in all the world. I'm like, well, maybe I'll take the most incredible part out. Right? But there's nothing wrong with writing, sweet things about yourself.
I love that. You're so right. There's nothing wrong about it. And I think we're all just so geared towards modesty. And it's really hard to watch people struggle through the resume writing process because they do think that they're supposed to play smaller. And I don't know, like, I don't do a very good job of helping people get over that. Like get over the, like, this isn't bragging, this is kind of advocacy. So what would you say to help people shift their thinking towards like, I'm not actually bragging, this is fact?
Well, you're hurting the world. So you're causing more harm to the world and to the hiring managers by playing small. So when you play small, they can't tell how awesome you are. They can't tell that you would be the perfect person to solve their problems. We're in a pandemic. People need to hire awesome people. Yes. If you're like, I'm too scared to say that I'm awesome, someone's not going to look at your resume and be like, I think underneath this isn't awesome. They don't have the time.
Right.
They don't have the time. And so if you don't tell them, they don't know, and they're going to go on to someone who can like own their awesome. And so I think and usually that works. Like people who are modest often are sensitive to other people. So they're like, oh, I don't want to hurt anybody.
Right. Well, that's a good one. I'm going to start using that one. You're so right. You make extra work for people because they can't just see your resume and be like, this is the one, this is the person. I got to call them for an interview right now. So you're so right. You're so right. I love that. I was rewatching your TED Talk. Okay. And I love it. And because the title is like, ooh, it's catchy, burn your resume. Figuratively speaking, of course, if it's digital, no burning of laptops, please. But so why might someone want to burn their resume, so to speak?
I just don't think that there's so besides the dates and the job titles and maybe some classes you took, I don't think that there's any value in your old resume. Because your old resume is what you used to do. It's got the language of old jobs, of the old you. Mm-hmm. And what happens is that if someone what I see people hurting themselves more is they try to bring life to something that's like, it's dead. It's dead. And they're trying to be like, I don't know how to make this pop, but you have a way better chance of making it pop by just starting from scratch and talking like you do, and just highlighting the stories that you love instead of trying to massage something that like wasn't meant to be massaged.
Yeah, I totally agree. I like what you said. It's like raising the dead.
Yeah, right. And it's like, and no one wants to see it.
No.
They're like sloppy resumes, right?
And I see that so often, and you probably see it too, that someone is trying to revive the dead, and I'll see like a C-suite resume where they list education first, for example, and I'm just like, no, don't use your college resume that was 25 years ago.
Yeah, and I just find it hard to be proud. Like, I don't know. I don't think you would pull, like, there's nothing else professionally that you would pull out to show. Like, I can't think, of anything that you're like, oh yeah, when I'm looking to sell myself, I'm going to like bring out my like first suit, right? Like, you're not, because it's going to be like dated and ill-fitting. That's what an old resume is, right? You don't want to wear that.
I love that analogy. I
just made it up.
You just made that up?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. That was gold. I love that. I love that. No one wants to wear an old suit.
No.
Yeah. You're going to look dated. You're going to, that's awesome. The chat's going wild. So I just want to check in. Akalesh says, hello, happy Thanksgiving. George says, good evening, happy Thanksgiving from MN. That's Minnesota, right?
Yeah, it's close, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what MN is. Sorry, Canadians here. Arvin says, good evening, happy Thanksgiving. Great to see two experts together. Oh, thank you. We've got a question from Akalesh, which I'm going to circle back to later. Two questions from him, good ones. Hello, Robert. And Kristen says, she was agreeing with what you're saying. You're not helping the manager when you withhold your greatness. I agree. They're trying to make the best decision and they need the data to do it. So help them.
You know it. Yes, help them. And our HR and our hiring people, like, they are stressed. They're trying to find,
no kidding,
they're trying to like figure out what the business even does, who does what. They need to pick the best people. So make it easy for them.
Yes. Make it easy for them. Absolutely. Teresa, you were asking about sharing a sample resume. Sorry, not sharing a sample resume, but if you go to my channel or Kerri's YouTube channels, we have a variety of training there that might help you with more visual things. So in any case, please have a look at those there. So I want to talk about like storytelling, because that's the whole basis of that's your ethos. That's what you do. So how can we become better storytellers in our resumes?
Well, so what's interesting is how much people love to say, like, oh, I want to know my story. I want to tell my story and how to become a better storyteller. And I'm like, cool. So the very first thing is that you got to read. You have to read more than just like articles on LinkedIn. Like, read stuff that touches your heart. Read stuff that like you can't like put down, and fall in love with stories. You can't become a great storyteller until you are like are loving stories. So, right?
That's a great point.
I don't know how, like, I think you have to love them, and then you can start to understand them. So one is read widely.
Okay.
Read love. And then tell stories, right?
Yes.
Like, storytelling isn't something that like, oh, you quietly just emerged. It comes by, you share it. And when you're sharing it, you're mindful. So it's that tuning in again, where like, as you're telling the story, get out of your own head and watch what people pick up on. And it's hard to do. Like, it's hard to do because no one can see each other in person. But when we're back to seeing each other, or even like on Zoom calls, notice when you say something, if everyone's nodding, if they're like starting to look at the camera, if they stop, if they're not looking at their phone, and then you'll know which moments in your story are waking people up and where you're losing them. Right. But the more you tell, the better you get at it. And if you're like, I don't know what story to tell, the easiest way I know, and I use it as a prompt myself. So every Friday I ask myself, what were 3 things that you were surprised by this week? Like 3 things I was surprised by. And then I jot them down and I'm like, is there a story in there we're sharing? So like I asked this, I was teaching a class at the university earlier, and I asked someone and he said, oh yeah, I got my first YouTube comment. And I was like, oh. So he was like, I was surprised. Good. And I said, what did the person say? And he said, they said, great video. And I was like, could that be a story? And he was like, maybe. I'm like, it is. Write a post about, for the last 3 months, you've been creating videos. Nobody comments. They finally did. It's, and then something motivational, like keep going. Even if you don't get the attention, it's worth keep going. Yes. And he was like, wow. So hopefully he told that story, but
I hope
that's usually the best place to start. And the simpler, the better. Did you do you remember your first story that you told on LinkedIn that kind of was popular? Like not a tip, but a story.
Was it a story? I was exposing a thought leader's position on why no one should ever hire a resume writer, and that went kind of wildfire.
Okay.
I don't know if I story told with it. I think it was a bunch of little stories. Like, this is why this is wrong. This is why this is wrong. This is why this is wrong.
Yeah.
Maybe.
So was reading the article of why you shouldn't hire a resume writer a surprising thing that week?
Yes.
See, it works.
There we go.
If you, this is all the science I need. But if you notice the articles that surprise you, something happens, it surprises you when you tell those stories, because they're recent, they don't have to be big. You were just you saw something and you went, nah. That's surprising.
That's right.
I don't agree with that. I'm going to write about it. That's going to have a lot more energy than trying to dream up something that's very old or that you're really pulling the meaning from it. So I'd say, and then the other thing is finding a story. When you find a story that you love, pay attention to the parts of it and what's happening in the story that makes it work, and just choose one aspect of it. And that's all you need to do. Choose one and then add it to your story.
Oh, love it. Love it. Oh, I didn't realize I was telling a story then. Now I feel really like a storyteller.
Yeah. Well, there's 10 different types of stories that people can tell in their careers.
Right. And you have a video series on that, right? I think you started.
I started. I haven't finished.
How many episodes are you into that?
Well, just the one.
The one. Okay. So
I'm a great starter.
Good. So go to Kerri's YouTube channel and subscribe so you can get all of the videos on all of the type of stories. Are they? I don't want to make you make videos, but are they coming?
They are coming. Yeah.
Okay.
But what the story you were telling there was a credibility story.
Oh, right. Yes.
So
yes.
You could have told that story in a way where you made it about results. You'd be like, actually, you should hire a resume writer because my clients landed this job. So you could have told a credibility story,
right,
or a results story. If you tell an expertise one, you're speaking about it, but you're speaking about it in a way no one would question how well you know it, right? Or you could tell it like a helper story, which is, here's 3 lessons that I learned by reading this. So for everything that happens, there's 10 different ways you can tell it.
I love that. So you know what? This ties in nicely with a question. Well, you've been answering this whole time, but Aklesh was wondering if there was any resume storytelling tips or best practices that are helpful, and you just gave us a ton.
Yeah. I think like for specifically for resumes, if you're applying for a direct job, the thing to tell them is like specific examples of what they want to hear specific examples of. So if I'm hiring somebody and I need them to tie a wagon to my horse.
Okay.
And so my job ad is like, I need you to calm my horses, and I need you to build a wagon, and I need you to tie it to my horse.
Okay.
And you send me a resume, and your resume is like, I've sold a lot of cars. Right. And I motivated a lot of people, and you tell me that, I'm like, cool. Like, that sounds great, but it's not for me.
Right.
But if you tell me a story about something you made by hand, even if it was never a cart, but you made something by hand, by the time that you calmed someone down, I would be like, if you can calm a person, you might be able to calm a horse. And then something else where you fixed a bike. You tell me those specific, I can imagine you doing that work and go, you have the skills to do the job. Right?
Yes.
So it's that people go really vague. And instead of saying, hey, I calmed a person down. Right. They'll say, supported a person. I'm like, I don't know what that means.
Right.
If you tell me a story about, we had a distraught customer and I used my listening skills to calm them down and they left feeling heard, I can imagine you doing that work.
So it's really about creating that visual. Yeah. And not writing something because we think that's the way it's supposed to read on a resume.
Yes.
Because usually that's not really how people want to read a resume.
Yeah. And we want to delight the person. Like you could, of course you want the keywords, like that's important too.
Yeah.
But after the keywords, if everyone is just using keywords, then nobody stands out. So you need the combination of I'm using the keywords plus I'm making it super interesting.
Right. Yes. I love it. And this ties in nicely with Andy's question. If a resume is first read in 6 seconds, how can we have a story in our summary section that'll quickly catch the attention of the reader?
Beautiful. 3 lines. You just need 3 lines. First line grounds us in who you are, right? So I'm a drama teacher with 4 years experience teaching at an elementary school.
Great.
You know exactly who I am, how long I've been doing it, and what I've been doing.
Right.
Second one is I'm going to tell you my skills. 2 of them are unique to me.
Okay.
And the way that I word them, you're probably not going to find them anywhere else. And one is going to be a keyword from their job ad. Right. So known for like calming distraught people, building wagons, right? And great communication skills. So that the way that it's written, the words they're using are so unique, but you have a little bit of their language so they know you're not completely unqualified. And then the last line is just a splash of your personality. So me, works with uncontrollable enthusiasm for helping people. Right. A line of what it's like to work with you. And that's enough to catch somebody.
I love it. Because at the end of the day, how I see it as well with our resumes is we really want to come across as a coworker that someone would want to have.
Yes.
So, I mean, you don't want to come across as a Dwight.
Yes, exactly.
I can't not put Office references into things.
I'm just watching The Office. I never watched it.
Okay.
So I'm now where Dwight just became manager.
Where he just became manager. Okay.
Towards the end.
Towards the end. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, thankfully you're almost done, because I was going to say you only have until the 28th.
What?
Yeah. Netflix is pulling it. Well, or NBC is taking it back. Something like that.
In 2 days?
No, I'm sorry. 28th of December. You have plenty of time. Okay. Given where you are, you're near the end. So you have plenty of time. Okay. You can restart it even, but I'd recommend skipping season 1. Because it was not my fave. Anyway.
And now we talk about The Office.
Yes. Oh, that's great. And yeah, sorry, I'm just looking at the chat here. Lots of people looking for snippets of things, some templates. But I think what we really want to communicate is you don't need a template for this stuff.
Yeah. So here's the thing about a template. A template is going to have the energy of an old resume and someone else's work. And the thing that's going to get you hired is you. Like, I swear it's you. I have seen hundreds of people use templates that just sell themselves short, and they feel good because it's like a security blanket. But it's like, you know, it's like the blanket that, like, it's the polio blankets. Like, it's not like, I'm like, they're not helping you, right? They're not helping your career.
Right.
So I think you can look at templates in terms of structure, but the words need to come from you. Yes. And you have to be able to use those same words when you show up on LinkedIn, when you go to the interview. So taking words that I write that you would never say, you're going to go to the interview and flop.
Right.
Right? Because they're going to be like, well, you sounded very romantic and perky in your resume, and you're actually very straight.
Yes, very straightforward and technical. Yes.
Yeah.
Like, yes.
So like you could, you know, look at templates, but just for the pure like function of them, but the wording, it needs to be you. And so read, tell stories, write, writing a daily practice. And those are things that make you a better storyteller, because you have to get in touch and like, what's your best way?
Yes.
When you're writing the resume, you're not another character. You're you. So some people, I think, write them as if they're like some other person.
Yeah.
But the thing that has worked for you in the past, that lands you opportunities, why people like you, why you're memorable, you have to put those same things in your resume.
Yes. Yes, right? Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. To your point with the templates, it really gives like that false sense of security, going back to the blanket analogy. Yeah, it really gives that false sense of security. And as you said, it's someone else's work and not you, not your work.
Your work.
Yeah. And also another reason I don't like templates is it's like forcing you to fit into a certain kind of box, really. And you can take a lot of liberties with resume writing. You keep a simple structure, which you don't need a template for, and you're off to the races. Just be yourself, use your own words, right?
Yeah. Like I had a client, and she had this bullet point that was like half a page.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, and she was like, but I heard that you're only supposed to have like 4 bullet points on the first page or something, according to like her template.
Okay.
And so I looked at it and I was like, well, it looks like within this half-page bullet point that you have a bunch of micro stories.
Right.
So why don't you write like an overarching story? So, you know, coordinated, the merger between 2 large organizations.
Yeah.
And then was and then I was like, and then put a bunch of sub bullet points underneath it. Now that's not going to show up on a template. No. Because that's a very special case.
Yes.
And so sometimes you need to learn, like as a person writing it, is this a big story or a small story? Is this a story that can be told in 3 sentences, or is it too big? And maybe I need to break it out into like micro pieces. Like, but you only learn that by reading other things.
Yes, because you develop a taste or for what you like to read and how you like to read, and you can imagine someone else reading what you're writing.
Yeah.
And that's what it's all about, is making your resume appeal to the reader, the human reader. Not the applicant tracking system is, you know, for another chat, but we always want to appeal to that human reader.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Awesome. I just want to touch on a few of the notes here. Yvonne is saying, love the storytelling tips. Thank you, awesome. Yvonne. Simplicity sells. Some try to be too complicated. Yes, it certainly. It's important to inject some of your personality into your resume. Couldn't agree more. All right. And I just want to circle back to a couple of the questions that we had here. I'm an experienced Salesforce professional and want to target roles in customer success and product management. How can I plan my job search strategy? What do you think, Kerri?
So when I look at this, what I find hard is that you're going for two things. And for me, I think customer success and product management are two different things. So customer success, you're telling stories about how you helped people, how you overcame their trouble, how you streamlined services, how you helped internal people serve external. Like you're telling stories like that. Product management, I haven't worked with a lot of product managers, but I think it's about managing internal systems, right? Maybe you could be the voice of the client, but those are two different things. So when you're building a brand, especially like online, if you come and you go, hey, I'm this and this, if somebody else comes and they say, I'm just this, the person who just chooses the one thing looks better because they look like a specialist. So if somebody wants to work for me, again, wants to, I don't ride horses. But if somebody,
I don't either.
Right?
It's easy to. It's a good example.
Right?
Yeah.
But if I hear stories about product management and I really need someone to focus on customers, I think it's hard. Maybe you could be like a customer like success person with experience in product management, or a product manager who comes like with customer success, but going for two at once is complicating things a lot.
Agreed.
So in terms of planning your job search strategy, I would say like choose the one that makes your heart sing. Which one makes you like, I could do this forever?
Yes.
I love it. Right?
Yes.
Think of the best examples that you have of the difference that you make in that area. Think about the values that you care about. Talk to people who are working in that area, learn the lingo, share stories, connect with people. If you can ever do a side project, if you have to, make that happen. Share best practices as you're researching, share personal stories that are happening in your best 3 days. But I think your best strategy is choosing one.
Yes. Yeah. Totally agree. Yeah. I have nothing to add.
Yeah. And totally it's hard. And I know
it is.
I know it sucks. We're in a really weird time where you're like, well, maybe I want to be customer success, but right now there are none. Now there's only product management. So I would say, okay, how about you think of the next 1 to 3 years, not forever. You do product management. And when you land that job, you try and, get your fingers into the customer success stuff while you're there. That's a better strategy than going for things that don't exist or trying to go for two. Yeah.
Totally agree. Yeah. Pick the thing.
Yeah.
And go after the thing, whatever that is. It doesn't have to be the be all end all right now.
Yeah. And once you're a master at that thing, then you can expand. But if nobody knows you as either of them, then you're just weakening your brand.
For sure. 100%. Totally agree. And Akalash just had another question about cover letters. Is it necessary to have a cover letter? I know what I think. I don't think we've ever talked about, have we talked about cover letters? I don't know if we have.
I feel like we have.
Okay.
So my take is that write it. The cover letter is not even for the company, it's for you. So writing a cover letter is going to let you know, if you're making your notes, why you want to work for the company, because that's the first line. What skills you have to do the job, that's your second paragraph. A great story that backs up your skills, which is your third. And then addresses any sort of barriers to why they wouldn't hire you. So those are all the things that they're going to ask you in the screening interview. So if you think about it in advance, you write it out. Doesn't matter if they read it or not. You have the notes. And if they're going to read it, awesome. You want to have it. They might not. You still do it.
Yeah. I think that's a great way to look at it. It's like, at worst, it's like interview prep.
Yes.
At best, it gets read and it catches some eyes. But I also see it as insurance.
Yes.
You don't want to be caught in the situation where a cover letter was expected and you didn't send one. That's that's one of my like scariest, that's like a job search nightmare to me.
Yes.
There aren't many, but that's one of them.
Yeah.
All right. Akhilesh, you were asking about ATSs. I have a video on my channel about ATSs. Kerri, any thoughts on ATS?
So ATSs are beautiful, great tools for HR people to help. It helps them because lots of people apply for jobs, and it helps them to know who's qualified for the job. So it just helps to parse and lets people know which are the ones that you want to look at. Mm-hmm. When you try to write a resume for an ATS, I think that you're making it hard. I don't know how you can find joy trying to match it, because the thing is that if an ATS finds the right words, right? So as long as you have the keywords in there, when it comes to a human, it's the human that's going to make the call. Right. So the ATS isn't like, no, we're going to call this person because they have all the words. I don't care what you think. And then like robocall and interview you. Right. It's going to hire and onboard you. It has no say. All it does is just kind of goes, hey, this one has the words. Right? Like it's like a dumb waiter. Pretty much. And so when you're writing it, you still have to think about a person. And I think hearing about ATSs is one of the worst things that job seekers can think about, because it takes away, because you start to see it as a game. You get obsessed more with trying to match keywords. Yes. And you're way better off investing in telling a great story, trying to grab the attention of somebody, 100%. And then doing research and networking instead of trying to crack a system. Yes. Right. But they're gifts. Like, did you read John Shields' post the other day?
Which one? I frequently read his posts. Yeah. But which one?
So he wrote a post about, they're hiring a job scan, and he had heard, so the other advice, on the other side of this is that there's people who coach and say, you can't land a job, or like land a job without applying. And so all these people were writing to John, trying to land the job without applying. And he was like, no. Yes. Can you just go to the HR person and apply the regular, through the ATS, right? Like we know what we're looking for. Yes. Right. And I think that what happens there is that he was sending those, hundreds of people who are writing to him, he was sending them to the ATS because it makes work easier for him. Yes. But doesn't do his job for him, right? It just makes things easier. Yeah. Right.
Yes. And I've been talking to a lot of recruiters lately about ATSs because I really wanted to understand them. And really what I'm gathering from my conversations with them is it's almost like it helps them project manage the hiring process. Yes. And that's about as sophisticated as it gets. And that's pretty not sophisticated, pretty unsophisticated. It's not sophisticated. I'm good with words. It's pretty unsophisticated if you ask me. Yeah. So we're giving it a lot more credit than we should be, which is just stressing job seekers out more than it needs to. Yes. So, Andy's in here. Andy's in here, and we've been having a lot of conversations as well with our recruiter friends on ATSs. And he wrote an article recently on LinkedIn, which was excellent. And he's also frustrated with the ATS misinformation out there. Thank you, Andy. It's thank you for your article as well and your take on that. ATSs are just causing more frustration than they need to. Yeah. Okay, we've got quite a few questions coming in here, and then I want to make sure we cover off a few of my questions that we had here. Okay. I'm trying to career pivot from criminal investigations to corporate fraud. How do I put my experience and stories into a resume to show quantifiable skills? Okay,
Brian, I rarely want to write a resume for someone, but this I'm like, This would be so much fun.
Yes.
Okay.
I think he attended last week too, and we were chatting a bit about this. But yeah, I find this pivot fascinating, and I've seen it happen quite a bit actually.
Yeah. So I think like if for this one, I think you want to just talk about the investigations and the different parts of them, right? And I don't know much about corporate fraud, but I would think about like how you planned, about communication with the client, about, the cases you solved, about being professional. Like I would list all of those things, like the difference that you made in all of those areas and what they're looking for, like in the corporate. And then obviously like some education on like corporate fraud, whether it's like you take a MOOC, which is a massive online open course so you have some recent education. But I think, and then work on that source story of why criminal investigations like aren't enough anymore, and why you want to bring it to corporate fraud. So why is that the most important thing to solve for you right now? And tell that story so people are like, oh, it's like he's built for this.
Ooh, I love that. I like that you specifically said solve, because that's what that work is all about.
Yes.
Solving cases. So I love that. I love that. I'm just picking up on Brian's note about quantifiable skills. For me, I've written not similar, but I've written resumes for folks transitioning from law enforcement over to something different. Yes. Quantifiable stuff doesn't come up a lot.
Doesn't come up a lot?
Quantifiable, yeah. For me, when I did those resumes, quantifiable accomplishments weren't happening a lot. It was more qualitative. Yeah. So, I mean, I might have, if there was some like money involved in terms of like solved a $20 million fraud case, that's a different situation.
I just want to look up a job ad.
Sorry, what's that?
I want to look up a job ad for a corporate fraud.
Oh, yeah. So they probably do want to see some quantifiable stuff, but I don't want, my caution to Brian would be, don't start trying to quantify stuff just for the sake of quantifying it, because I think that we can really.
I've got it.
Okay.
So I'm looking at a job ad, right? And so one is that, like you have to develop an expert understanding of business and group challenges. So you want to talk about a time when you had to develop an expert understanding of a situation and then what your expertise allowed you to do. The other one is influence and negotiates to achieve business objectives. So you want to talk about a time that you influenced or negotiated something and got a result. Identifies emerging trends and issues. So about a time you saw a trend or an issue arise to your field and what you did about it and how that helped. Nice. Like these are, recommend and implement solution-based like implications. Like, so just go through a list. You can go through a job ad and just be in front of every bullet point of action that they're asking for. Ask your ad, tell me about a time to the front of it.
I love that. That makes it so much easier.
Yeah. Tell me about a time you developed an expert understanding. Tell me about a time you networked with industry contacts. So those become prompts. And then you want to think of specific story examples to tell. At first, it'll be a long story. And then go, okay, can I squish this down using their words and my words to 2 to 3 sentences? If it's too big, then it's going to be one of those like 1 or 2 lines and then some mini ones underneath it.
Oh, that's great. So how much quantifying do you see necessary? I'm not gathering any.
Yeah, they don't need it though. They need experience.
I think, sorry, Brian, to dig in on this quantifiable thing, but that's a major beef of mine is so many blogs and websites and resume advice or resume tips say you got to quantify, everything needs to be quantified. That's just not realistic. And you can actually hurt yourself quantifying when something when it's inappropriate to quantify. So And in this case, I can't see very many instances where quantifying would add value to answering those questions. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Brian, I hope that answers your question.
Yeah. It's a beautiful job ad.
That is a good job ad.
It was beautiful. It was like developing relationships. Like it just a really like identify enablers and key issues. Like enabler. Oh, I'd love to. That's enablers. A key word in there.
Oh, I like that. Like, I like that.
Okay.
I like that. Enablers. I wonder if they're meaning enablers in the positive sense or the.
Oh yeah, I think so. I think it's about like coming up with new like solutions, and then who's going to help you.
So not enablers of corporate fraud or anything.
Yeah. Well, maybe.
I don't know. I don't know.
I don't think about.
I'm super curious now of that. Yeah. Troy is just asking where to find a cover letter guide similar to how you described the anatomy of a cover letter.
Yeah.
I would just replay what you said.
Yeah. I made a video. I'm jumping and I'm like, how to write a cover letter. And then I go through it. Yeah. So that would be, I think that's probably the best. I might have a blog post. Search Kerri Twigg cover letter, see if it comes up.
Nice.
I have a cover letter, like I have a class called Writing Authentic Cover Letters, which goes into every section and teaches you exactly how to do it and fall in love with it. Yeah.
Nice. And I have a cover letter guide on my site. If you go to kamaratoffolo.com, free stuff. You can sign up for it there. It's not the same anatomy, but we share a lot of the same kind of cover letter values, if that makes sense. So that's great. And Yvonne says, you guys make this so interesting. Enjoying the live stream. Thank you, Yvonne. We're enjoying it too, I think.
I hate this. You see me like nerd out and write a fake resume for criminal fraud. Like I'm such a nerd.
That's us, resume nerds. The resume nerds. That's our new tagline.
That's our new thing.
Of our partnership. Yeah. And Brian says, great advice. Thank you. So focus more on the soft skills instead of quantifiable hard skills. Focus on,
the skills they're asking for in the job.
They're asking for. So quantifiable is not synonymous with technical or hard skill. Quantifiable relates to accomplishments or stories that you share. In this case, given what Kerri uncovered, it does not sound like quantifiable accomplishments or stories are necessary.
Yeah.
It's more qualitative. That's important. So, lots of storytelling, in other words, lots of storytelling. Yeah.
Back up how good you are following through, making things happen, making connections, building relationships, solving things.
Yes. Solving things. And Yvonne brings up a good point. What about percentage of cases solved? I mean, could do, but I would be worried that he'd be incriminating himself. For lack of I don't know what the employer's benchmark is for it being, this is a good number of cases solved, this is a bad number of cases solved. So I'd be worried about that, but sorry.
If you worked on multiple cases at a time, that might be interesting, right? So even if it was just investigator, right, with 15 years experience, like managing over 20 cases at once, like something, if you know the scope of the job, you can put how many cases that you can manage at a time, or who's done over, like we'll be like, I've helped over 1,000 people write a resume. Like if you're like, I helped over 1,000 people do something, you could do that. Yeah.
I think that's good, as long as the number does your work justice. Is impressive. In other words, I think you're free to explore using it, but I don't think it's necessary in this case, given what you saw on that job post. Teresa's asking, can the storytelling method be used for someone trying to land more clients to their small business? Oh, yeah. What do you think, Kerri?
Like if you're not like the only reason I have a business is that I'm telling stories. Like it's my business started on accident because I was telling stories. And sharing. And people loved it and were like, I want to learn what you're doing. And then I realized I had a gift. So the best place, it's like those 10 So there's 10 stories. There's 10 different stories that you can tell. What I do is I create like every month, I create a calendar of where I'm going to place those 10 different stories. And they have like different themes. And so I might share it on LinkedIn. I might share it on my website. It might be on my blog. It might be on Thrive Global. It might be a tweet. It might be Instagram. So I'm going to tell different stories in different places.
Oh, I love that.
So I think it's about like where you want to tell the story. It depends on what you're trying to do. So if you're trying to get people to know you, then doing it on social media works because it has a chance to have more eyes on it.
Yes.
If you're trying to build like intimacy with the people and you feel like you want to tell them stories to get to know you, then that would be like through a newsletter. Or like, a webinar or something like that. So it depends on the intimacy level of where you want to tell the story. But I tell them everywhere. Yeah.
I love that. Sorry.
Yeah. I was going to say, and most of my clients lately have just been business owners. Like I had a client, she was working at an HR firm, wanted to become a public speaker. We revamped, came up with like a name for her, like her speaking and her process. Nice. And now she's selling it. She's like a whole new person. Like, yeah, it's beautiful. And it doesn't have the rules of resume, which is so freeing.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, I love that. Oh, that's great. I like how you use the 10 story types to build your content calendar. I think that's really creative.
Yeah. I made the video about it, but what happens is that on LinkedIn, people are only telling like two kinds of stories.
Right.
They're like, their big confessional, this is why I do what I do.
Yeah.
Right. This big announcement source.
Yeah.
They tell it once, or they tell it over and over, but in different ways, but it's the same story. And then they're announcing things.
Yeah.
They're like, I'm speaking, I want this, I got the job.
Yeah.
And there's 8 other kinds that are going to nurture trust and are going to excite people and that are shareable that have nothing to do with those 2 types.
Yes. Right? Such a good point. Such a good point. I wanted to ask you about a couple of your techniques that have really like caught my attention, particularly your cut up technique. And finding out that it was used by David Bowie.
Yeah. Who learned it?
Yes.
From William S. Burroughs.
Right.
Right. So who wrote a whole novel. If you didn't understand Naked Lunch, it's because he used this technique. So I'm going to show you. I brought.
Yeah. Oh, you brought. Nice. Okay.
Piece of paper. And I think I had brought this. Okay. So basically, if you're writing a resume and you feel stuck, you're like, I feel super stuck. Take your resume and print it out. Or what's even better is just like handwrite all your bullet points out and then cut them into strips. So each accomplishment, I'm just going to like do a couple, but each accomplishment then becomes a strip of paper, right? So what's beautiful is that when you see it on paper, it changes the energy of the story. Like it's different than when it's on your computer screen.
Yes.
So you take it, and at first you just pick up the strip and you I love the strip. It's like from a talk I was giving. Oh, yeah. So my point is, it would normally be a resume bullet point. Yeah. Resumes, I fall in love with them. but they're so full of fluff statements. That goes for yours. I don't know what I'm saying. So anyhow, I could be like, oh, that's a story that I think is really important to this client. I'm going to put it at the top of my resume. So I'm just laying it down like on a table in front of me.
Yep.
And if I look at it and I'm like, I shouldn't use the word fluff, I should use the word furry, then I want to I can make the edit there. And then I do it with all the pieces. So I'm writing the edit on it, right? Because I want it to sound good. I'm saying it out loud, and then I'm playing around with the order. So what happens when I think about it, when I think about what story they want to hear first, and I lay it out, is I'm interacting with the resume in my stories in a way that's like tactile.
Tactile, yeah,
right?
yeah.
And it's making new connections in my brain about how this can happen, allowing me to think of words, allowing me to see which words are flat and not me. Like, I can't believe I wrote that. I would never use that word. Right. And then you go, when you have that, then you go back to your resume and then you just copy and paste and make the edits and then read it over. So it's a way of like, if you're just sitting there and it's not inspiring, like move it off of the page, right? And play with it, right? And see what story. Yeah, I used to do this when I would write, like I did this recently. I was writing a short story. Oh yeah. And I wasn't sure if it was the right order. Okay. Right? Like where a scene happens. So I just cut up the short story in all its scenes, laid it out and went, no, this should come here. It changes the whole thing. And then I retyped on my computer and submitted it. So love it. Love it. Oh, that's good. I love that. And it's so simple. And so straightforward and makes, again, brings fun back into it. I think. And it feels creative. Yeah. It feels creative. Yes. Yes. And speaking of creativity, I was really loving your post. I have it up here. It's 3 career development activities to add to your weekly work calendar. Go check that out on Kerri's website. It's really good. And really shifted my thinking about how I block my days. Yeah, I need more space for that creative thinking. So yeah. And if you don't plan for it, you won't do it. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. We have a lot of questions about the other story types. So whenever you make the other videos. So Claire was asking the other story types, and someone else was asking, do you have a blog post on the other story types? No, I haven't written it yet. Yeah. So subscribe to your YouTube channel. Yeah, you'll want to. I do. Hold on. Okay. I think on my phone, I might on my phone have a picture of all of them. Oh, really? I'll see. Because I had my husband design it. So it's a whole story framework. Awesome. Maybe ask me a question while I search. Sure. Yeah. Well, as you're searching, I'm just going to pop up what Diana said. Hello, Diana. Thanks for joining. She loves your cut up technique, brilliant technique in changing the way we look at our stories and accomplishments. She's going to try that with her clients. So that's great to hear. Yeah, the other question I wanted to ask you before. Oh, there we go. I can't see it very well. No, but, so okay. But basically, I have like this 10 story types are. So you have your main career stories brand. I know you can't really see it because it's small. So you have your career brand, which is how you figure that out by doing the 7 stories method. I know I have all these little things. And then when you know what you're awesome at, what your 3 super skills are, then you figure out the 10 different ways to tell them. But I'm showing you this because I'm going to be releasing them like one at a time. And then some are blocked out. So I'm building anticipation, which is a story method. Oh, yes. My dad, he's a fantastic storyteller. He would say something and he would pause just as we like wanted to know. And we were like, so you can do that in your content and not giving everything away the first time, making people want more. And they're like, I'm going to follow that person. I'm really interested. Right. And then they get the payoff of learning. Like that's a beautiful way to tell a story. Oh, I love that. I love that. So the suspense is real. Yes. Make sure you subscribe to Kerri's YouTube channel. Yes. To get those teasers of the story. So just search for Kerri Twigg over on YouTube and subscribe to her channel. If you're watching on YouTube, I've linked to her channel in the description of this video. Oh, so yeah, my pleasure. Since we're getting to the top of the hour, I cannot forget to ask you about Career Stories Method, the book. Okay, I'll introduce you to somebody. Okay. Did you know when you're like, you can do this actually, another thing to make resume writing fun is you can introduce your resume to people. Ooh. Right. So so my writing coach, like for my fiction writing, my writing coach is like, when you have a manuscript, you need to introduce it to people and you carry it around with you to give it energy. So as you're doing things that you love, like as you go for walks, go for a run, bring your resume with you and just let it have like the energy of your life. So anyhow, this is the manuscript. Oh my gosh. So we're at the stage. Yeah, it's like the Career Stories method.
Oh my gosh.
It's my book. That's my book. So we're at the stage where I'm at the second proof.
Mm-hmm.
I think it goes to print. Like my last changes I can make are November 28th, like 2 days.
2 days? Oh my gosh.
And then I think it goes to the printing people, and then it's for sale the end of January, but there'll be a pre-sale, but I don't know the pre-sale date yet. Yeah. There's a fake listing of it that made me number 4 on Amazon, but it's not my book. So it's not listed yet.
Oh, wow.
You can't.
Number 4 on Amazon, even though the book
People were buying the book.
People are buying the
book. I pre-ordered the book. I made that, like, people were buying it, but you bought the fake version. So the real version just hasn't been posted yet. Follow me. When it's up, you will hear so much. But it's really, I outline how to find your story, how to love yourself and love your career, how to find work that makes your heart sing, how to test your perfect work environment, get your mindset. I have, for all you people, resume samples of 4 different resume samples, plus how to build the building pieces of all of them.
Great.
How to build a LinkedIn strategy, and lots of storytelling skills in it. So everything that I coach about in like one beautiful book.
Brilliant. I'm so excited for that. And I'm so excited for you. And I saw the cover, love the cover. It's very you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. Yeah. I'm so excited. And I think I saw on your website that you have a sign up link to get notifications of when the book drops.
Yes.
So people can sign up there.
They can. And if the people, you'll get a thing. And then I have a fantastic bonus if you buy the book in advance, because that's what you're supposed to do when you sell a book, right? Is get lots of people to buy it in advance. Okay. But I'm giving away a free, like, guided course with me to help you find your career story.
Oh, love
for anyone who buys the book. So
that's
watch for it. It's coming. Yeah.
That's excellent. Oh, I can't wait for that. So Kerri's website is career-stories.com.
Yes.
Very easy, very memorable. And also it's linked in the description of this video too, on YouTube. So that is fantastic stuff. I'm so excited for that. So aside from career-stories.com, where else should people follow you to get all the good stuff?
Oh man. Well, it depends which me you want.
Okay.
If you want the occasional snark, follow me on Twitter. If you really like meditation and the softer stuff, and you want to see, where I go hiking, then that's Instagram. And on LinkedIn, I keep it pretty like, here's some videos and here's some tips. Yeah.
Got it. Okay. That's great. I do enjoy our Twitter exchanges.
Oh, me too. Someone wrote to me and said they liked me better on Twitter.
Oh, really?
And I was like, because I complain. I never complain on LinkedIn.
No. I definitely do complain on LinkedIn, but I definitely complain more on Twitter.
Yeah, Twitter. Yeah.
I don't know if it makes the complaints more palatable that they're restricted to, 240 characters or whatever it is.
Yeah,
but you can't do much complaining unless you want a thread of complaints.
Yes.
But anyway, yeah, I like Twitter. I feel I can be myself more on Twitter. I can let my hair doon a bit more on Twitter.
That's me on Instagram.
That's you on Instagram.
I'm like, this is what I'm crying about. I would never anywhere else.
I talk about poop a lot on Twitter.
Oh, okay. Well,
poop. Yeah. Anyway, thank you so much, Kerri, for joining me tonight. And I can just tell by the chat how much value everyone got out of this.
Oh, great.
And hope that everyone's questions, for the most part, were answered. There was a lot of activity, so we might have missed a few. I'm sorry if that's the case. But this happens every Thursday. I go live every Thursday with different guests. And thank you so much, Kerri. It was great to have you on Office Hours Live. I really appreciate your time, and all the best to you. Can't wait for the book.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks.
Have a good night, everybody.
Take care, everybody. Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.